Alright, hello citizens of the Nigelverse. It is Niger once again, and this is going to be another discussion video. Today, but at first, also I'd like to preface this by saying, and yes, this is another wrestling related discussion, and I do have a couple more that I may or may not do, but I may also do discussion videos on other stuff, so if there's anything else you guys want to see me do a discussion video on, let me know in the comments below, and I'll be happy to check it out and see if I'm interested in talking about it. But today's topic, let's talk about Mr. Roman Reigns in this, more specifically, his current reign as world champion and holding both titles in the WWE. You know, they say too much of a good thing isn't such a good thing. And the question I want to talk about and potentially answer today is a question that a lot of people are starting to ask, and it's something that's kind of been murmuring for a little bit. But I feel like it's really picked up since WrestleMania. A lot of people still feeling that WrestleMania, that WrestleMania grief. I guess I could call it over what happened in the main event. People are asking, has Roman Reigns been world champion for too long? Has the whole Roman Reigns as champion, the whole bloodline storyline, run its course? Has it been extended way beyond its shelf life? So let's talk about it and let's discuss it. What I'm gonna try to do for this one, which I kind of also did for my last two discussions I did, both the Vince McMahon one and the two in the one night versus 2 night WrestleManias. I'm gonna try to discuss like both sides. I'm gonna do like kind of pros and cons for both sides, right? And try to fairly represent both sides. First, let's start with the side that's saying Roman Reigns hasn't been, and the people that aren't upset over Roman being champion for that long. First, I'd like to point out he's literally been champion since 2020, since Payback in 2020, which was, I believe, either August or September. It was pretty much the week after SummerSlam, and the last person to hold the Universal Championship was Bray Wyatt. And not just any Bray Wyatt, the Fiend Bray Wyatt. In the time that Roman's been champion, that he's held the Universal Championship, Bray Wyatt has been released. He's came back and is under a whole new gimmick, under a whole nother gimmick. So Roman has been champion for a little while, over 2 years, almost 3. He has Roman been champion, which is pretty insane to think about. How I was in college when he first won the championship. I was in I was in junior year of college when it happened, because August of 2020. I think I was entering junior year of college when it happened. But yeah, so it's been a while, and the people who have defended the championship reign, which, like I said, I'm gonna present both sides fairly. Some of the points that they brought up is that it's been a while since we've had like a really long championship reign, like over a year. Really long championship reigns almost seem a little bit far or between, like few and far between now. In these days, it seems like, at least in WWE, I think the last one I can remember was Brock Lesnar holding the Universal Championship for over a year, and then also AJ Styles holding the WWE Championship for over a year, and then of course there's reigns such as like CM Punk's 434-day reign as WWE Champion. I believe it was 434 days for CM Punk as WWE Champion. Even back then, there used to be a lot of long championship reigns. Bruno Sammartino's reign was like, I think like 8 years as world champion, and that's insane to think about. But I can't really factor that into it. Although people will kind of have mentioned it, I don't think I could factor that into it too much, because that was a different time. That's back when WWE wasn't really like televised as much. There was more like house show, because there wasn't like weekly programming for WWE. But now we're in an age where there's several weekly programs at WWE, such as Raw, SmackDown, NXT, NXT Level Up, several weekly programs for WWE, which of course they still do, the live events and house show circuit, especially with a lot of the COVID restrictions lifted. They've gone back to touring and everything, but otherwise, yeah, now everything's televised, and with both things being televised and social media, a lot more people are able to follow along on a lot more of a consistent basis. But I say all that to say, a long championship reigns kind of seem few and far between, um, and a lot of people are happy to have like a long reigning championship reign. Roman Reigns almost at 1,000 days as champion. I think in a matter of weeks, if I'm not mistaken, he will have crossed the 1,000 day threshold as world champion, and then people like the long reigns, and then even Roman not defending the belt as much, which something that Roman famously gave Brock a lot of crap for when they feuded in 2018. Yay! But Roman not defending it as much. People have argued, and I can see this argument where people saying that kind of a lack of defenses makes the title mean more. You really have to earn it. You really have to fight for it. And Roman's defenses as world champion have been really solid. It not really any bad defenses as world champion. There was the matches he had with Kevin Owens. There was a match he had against John Cena, which I heard was really good. Same with Edge and the triple threat Ed with Daniel Bryan and Daniel Bryan and Edge, I should say. The match at Brock Lesnar against Brock Lesnar, more so the SummerSlam one from last year, was really solid. Was a surprising breath of fresh air for a lot of people. Well, even the match with Cody was really, really good, and really, really liked by a lot of people. So Roman's track record holding the world championship, it is a pretty good one, and I've always maintained that if the world champion, I don't think the world champion should be defending the title every week, and I don't even think they should show up every single week, but at least showing up most of the time and being present most of the time. And to his credit, Roman's been there most of the time, and when the time's not there, they're still keeping the bloodline story going. So keeping the story interesting, adding the different wrinkles and everything, helps keep it going and helps keep things interesting. And you want to see what happens next in the bloodline development. And now the story goes some dissension. The Usos, Roman kind of distancing himself from his cousins, the Usos, because they lost their tag team titles at WrestleMania. Meanwhile, Cody having to go through Brock Lesnar to get back to challenging Roman. And so adding the new wrinkles in the storyline. And a lot of people like that, with the twists and turns and building more of a story of the championship. Plus, the Universal Championship, its lineage hasn't been the greatest. So Roman and being involved in this high-profile feud and having these big storylines, and it's can help with the legitimacy of the title. Before that, it's like I said, the Universal title lineage not super great. There was the awesome reign with Kevin Owens, but a lot of the other ones fell flat. But Roman coming back to add a lot of legitimacy to the title, I think is very well appreciated by a lot of people. So people in that regard do kind of defend it. Plus, it's Roman Reigns; he's the top guy. That's not really going to change. They're gonna push him regardless, I feel like. So those arguments are things to keep in mind. Mainly the prestige of the World Championship, keeping the World Championship prestige high and keeping that going, and while also keeping the story going and having the long reign. But now for kind of the arguments for the other side. Right, for starters, there's many people who have argued, and this is something I've picked up on and kind of have to agree with the sentiment, how we're almost seeing the same finishes almost every time. And because ever since Roman turned heel, and it does make sense because Roman's a heel, but a lot of people do feel like it's getting repeated ad nauseum. Roman winning most of his matches via bloodline shenanigans. Roman, the thing is Roman and yeah. Roman back then caught a lot of flack because he wasn't the greatest, but Roman, I feel like Roman as a character is someone who never necessarily needed help to win his matches. Is usually winning them on his own. Very rarely getting help to get the W in his matches. But the fact that now he's getting a lot of this help for the bloodline, from the bloodline, I should say. Hey, my apologies. Getting a lot of help from the bloodline, almost time after time after time. I'm repeated so often, and a lot of people who are kind of starting to get sick of it, and are kind of sick of seeing the same thing, which for a lot of people was something kind of familiar with Roman, was kind of the same thing, and Rowan exhibiting a lot of the same things week in and week out. And now we're kind of seeing it with the whole bloodline storyline, with him being world champion and everything. A lot of people kind of sick of seeing like the same finish, especially when it's someone, I should say, that Roman, Roman is likely going to be like someone who's probably not going to take the world title off of them, but you're still interested in the match. People who expect at this point for Roman to kind of cheat his way to victory, which can get a bit annoying and repetitive. The other argument a lot of people have made against the title run is that and now Roman has both titles. Roman has both the Universal Championship and the WWE Championship. He won it last year at WrestleMania 38 in the winner take all match against Brock Lesnar. So now he holds both world championships. And Roman is categorized as a SmackDown superstar, meaning Raw is without a world champion. Something he gave Brock flack for back in 2018. So Raw not really having a world champion. And it was a report, I don't know if that's still the case, but USA was apparently kind of like frustrated with Raw not having a world champion. They wanted Raw to have a world champion, not just SmackDown. But now Roman is holding all the gold, well, at least the world championships. So I feel like the two world champions has been kind of hit or miss. On one hand, and it can and allow for both brands to have world championships to challenge for, and people to be champions and to have championship matches, and you usually get like two world championship matches on the pay-per-views and everything, or even just like a random episode of Raw or SmackDown. But on the other hand, one is likely going to be a bit more, or a bit better, I should say, for lack of a better term, I guess, a bit better than the other in terms of like match quality and everything. And that, I think, is where some of the problems lie for a lot of people. But nevertheless, Roman walking around with both world titles. Apparently, there was a plan to unify them, but that doesn't seem to be the case. For now, it's just Roman with the two belts and everything, and almost kind of holding them hostage in a lot of people's eyes. And the fact that this has been going on for the Universal Championship stuff going on for about 2 years, or about a year and a half or so, up until WrestleMania 38, I should say, and now Roman holding the WWE Championship after WrestleMania 38, hogging both the world titles. It gets kind of frustrating that he's like the only world champion and thus the only thing to care about in the grand scheme of things in terms of the world title picture. Let me know if this is making any sense to you guys at all. Hopefully I'm explaining the sentiments and everything well enough here. But there's a lot of people who also believe that the Bloodline storyline, which has been happening since 2020, he with starting out with Roman's first opponent as Universal Champion, like his first major opponent, which was Jey Uso. That's kind of where the Bloodline story he started, and then Jimmy went into the fold. Well, first it was Paul, then Jay, then Jimmy, then Solo adds the mix, then Sammy was added to the mix before defecting and everything. And that's been going on for a while. And a lot of people wanted it to culminate at WrestleMania, and the fact that it didn't, I should say, it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. there are quite a few people who are like saying just end the story already. WrestleMania, the perfect time to end the story, to finish the story, and the story is not finished yet. And this is something I talked about with my boy Steve, which follow him at Plax TV over on Twitch and YouTube and other social medias as well. I'll kind of finishing the story and everything. Like WrestleMania definitely was probably the best place to finish the story. But the fact that the story isn't there, and then the excuse to try to give that the story never really ends, and yeah, I get it, new chapters and everything, but the new chapter in a lot of people's eyes should have been Cody as world champion, and how it goes from there. Now that Cody has the world championship, now that he didn't finish the story of him, not the story, but the chapter of him challenging and winning for the world title, and now starting up the story, which I'll admit, I'm not gonna give up hope just yet at in terms of Cody indeed finishing the story and the story culminating in a meaningful way. But if not WrestleMania, then when is a lot of people's question on the matter. But nevertheless, the fact that the story is still going, and the fact that this defection of Sammy happened, and Kevin interfering on behalf of Cody, and the Usos now being scrutinized for losing and everything. And honestly, you could probably do like a bloodline. Usos kind of being kicked out of the bloodline story with or without the world title, with Roman and projecting a lot of his frustration and insecurities on losing the world title onto Jimmy and Jay. Kind of just like spitballing on my part for that. But yeah, a lot of people feel like the story's gone on too long, and the fact that it didn't culminate at WrestleMania, a lot of people are frustrated, saying, "My goodness, how much of the story is left? How much longer do we have to keep going on with this story?" Who is gonna be the one to beat Roman for the world title? Which is another argument. There's pretty much like no one left. You'll have to do like a repeat opponent. There's maybe like one or two people who could probably still challenge for the world title, but otherwise there's not really anyone left. Cody was like the last major threat to Roman. One I would like to see is Sheamus, but he is still kind of involved in like the Brawling Brute stuff and might still be in the Intercontinental title picture. Or plus, I'd argue at this point in his career, Sheamus doesn't really need a world championship win, and a lot of people do want him to have another world championship, and I honestly wouldn't mind it. It like, hey, he definitely put in like the work and stuff for it over the years, especially last year. Or, between like the stuff he did with Gunther and you know the whole Brawling Brutes thing, Sheamus definitely put in a lot of work last year. He was definitely the GOAT for sure. But if he gets another world title, I'll be happy. I'll be excited, of course, because I do love Sheamus. But otherwise, I'm not gonna be too upset with it. But yeah, so it seems like Roman doesn't really have any other challengers unless they like move someone up to the plate who's kind of in the lower card up to Roman. But yeah, so a lot of people's frustration is starting to begin with the bloodline story. But the question you may be asking yourself is, Nigel, where do you feel? How do you feel about the whole debacle? Honestly, I kind of like what I tried to do with this video. I can kind of see both sides. On one hand, and on one hand, not having Cody get the W was kind of annoying and kind of frustrating, and it seems like there's no one left. Hopefully, my only hope is that it leads to a major redemption arc for WWE, and they prove that. Excuse me, and they are able to successfully prove that Cody losing at Mania was the right way to go, was the right option to go. A lot of people compare this to like Avengers Infinity War leading into Avengers Endgame, where It was kind of like that apocalyptic end of the world we failed feeling after Thanos beat everyone down, grabbed the stones, and wiped out half of the population. And, and then moving into Endgame as the Avengers picked themselves back up, launched the plan, and ultimately stopped Thanos. A lot of people have compared it to that. And hopefully, if that is the route they're going, hopefully it's done right, and hopefully it justifies Cody not getting the W at WrestleMania. But at this point, I feel like WrestleMania kind of was. It's like if this story did end at WrestleMania, I feel like it wouldn't have been a bad thing, and a lot of people would have liked it, and I'd argue a lot of people probably would have preferred it. But on the other hand, and I think I've mentioned this before. I don't know if I mentioned it before on the channel, but I kind of have mentioned it to myself before. Whoever is the one who's going to topple Roman and ultimately take the world titles off of him is going to have their stock elevated immensely and majorly. Like, whoever will be the one to eventually dethrone Roman will have a major increase in their stock, and majorly will be seen as like a big deal and should be treated as a big deal. Like slaying Roman after going on this incredible 3-year run, almost 3-year run as world champion, and is a major thing. And whoever is the one to finally be able to do it is going to have their stock increase majorly. A lot of people have stated that they want Jey Uso to be the one to do it, which would make things come full circle. That of course, Jey Uso theoretically in storyline and a little bit in real life because they're cousins and everything, but in storyline, probably the one who knows Roman the best, knows what makes him tick and everything. Plus, Jey was the first opponent and for Roman starting this reign and everything, no pun intended. So Jey winning, I think, would be pretty major and would definitely set up a huge singles run for him to fully establish him as a single star. They kind of teased at it when Jey challenged Roman, which at the time Jimmy was injured, which is why he was challenging Roman and everything. And plus, they're also kind of building towards it a bit now with Jey still being somewhat conflicted about the whole bloodline and with the Sami Zayn wrinkle and everything into it. I wouldn't mind Jey like winning the world championship, but yeah. So I think that's kind of where we are right now in terms of this. But let me know, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Do you agree or disagree with my sentiments here? Which side are you on? Are you on the side of this has gone on too long? Are you on the side of this hasn't gone on too long? And in fact, you want to see it continue, or are you somewhere in the middle? And it's interesting to see like other W superstars and personnel chiming in. Kurt Angle said it's gone on too long. That Cody should have won at WrestleMania. I forgot who it was, saying Roman should break Bruno Sammartino's record, which, could you imagine? But yeah, so that's going to do it for this discussion video. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do me a favor. Like, comment, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Turn on post notifications so you know every time I upload a video so you can see as soon as it drops. And I will see you guys later. Peace.